Hello. Um, yeah, today today we're doing a reaction to the Chelsea game yesterday. Super Sunday, Arsenal lost 2-0. Um, you know everyone here, but I want them to introduce themselves. So we got Karen,
What's up? What's up?
George,
How we doing, people?
and Willow.
Yep, you are, guys.
Yeah, and I'm CK, and yeah, let's get into it. Overall, quick thoughts on the Chelsea loss 2-0 at the Emirates.
I mean, they were the better team. Let's just be honest. They were actually the better team. I mean, they weren't. We had a period of the first 15 minutes where we looked good. I mean, there was periods where we sustained pressure. There were good performances out there. Like I'll give you an example in Kieran Tierney. I think he had moments there where he looked like himself, even though he did get injured. But overall, we were the second best team, and it showed.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a difficult one with Arsenal Chelsea. It's a big game. We've won the last three games. We've gone into this one. It's not an excuse, but it's an excuse. Like we've got a lot of people out. We're missing our two best centre backs. So you're having to play a pairing of Rob Holding and Mari, where you kind of look at that and you think, in the Premier League, what kind of team uses a pairing of Rob Holding and Mari? There's not many Premier League teams that they would get into, and start as a pair together. And then I don't know. I just felt like we set up wrong. I think we should have gone three at the back instead of four at the back, and we should have sat a lot deeper than what we actually did a lot of the time, which would have helped. They overloaded on the wing backs, and we just got outplayed. Simple as.
I don't know. Maybe I have a little bit of different perspective because I wasn't able to watch it live, just updates. I had a little bit of a bender over the weekend for the birthday, so really I was going in and out of the live game. I had to catch up on it a lot later, and of course, I saw the meltdown, and I had watched some of the highlights, and I didn't get the same anxiety gulf that I saw online, because when I look into it, there were 5 starting 11 players that were missing from our end: Gabriel, Mari, not Mari, White, Partey, Aubameyang, and Odegaard, who I would assume would start for us if available. And for me, when you take that stability of spine outside the team, it's always an uphill battle. Forgetting the fact that Ben White was perceived to be fit, and we may have had to change tactics prior because we found out that he had COVID. But when I looked on the balance of play, everyone's citing the XG, but when I looked at actual chances within the box, there was a period where for the first 20 minutes, I would say Arsenal were in charge. And then we started giving Lukaku space, and then he started winning his duels with Mari. And then Kieran was just absolutely exposed for some reason. Bukayo, you have to critique him. We have a lot of praise for him on this channel. We love him very much, and for good reason, but he just wasn't up to scratch in terms of defending his box and making sure to crash his marker, and was leaving, Reece James 2v1 and really the plethora of the wing. Now, for me, you can kind of levy some concern and tactical kind of naivety with, Mikel. I don't think we should have matched up in a 4-2-3-1. I believe we should have gone 3-4-3. I believe that overload was the reason, because we were always going to overload down that side. Reece James is always going to be the overlapping fullback. Chelsea vacate the center. They use wider overloads to cross in, and we knew that was coming, and it was always going to be down that right-hand side. So for me, it was poor to not think of that and maybe not tactically switch it. But, Bukayo wasn't fit. He wasn't doing it. And I think the biggest tweak for me was I would have had Bukayo in the 10. When I first saw the lineup, that's what I was screaming, at least on my screen, kind of half drunk and in a daze. But I was like, Bukayo in the 10, because I don't think he was fit. And for me, Emile Smith-Rowe missed what impetus you may get in the center. At least what you would get with Bukayo would be touches, and he would go to link play. And if he did lose his marker, it would be at least through the center, where Chelsea don't build. And so for me, the issue was Emile Smith-Rowe had the legs, and he had a preseason to track back and assist in that overload if you wanted 4-2-3-1, which, by the way, was not my pick. But, and again, I say but, because when you look on the balance of play, you've got 2 quick goals, and then as you start going, we missed a really great chance with Emile Smith-Rowe in the box with a one-touch when Azpilicueta comes sliding in on a great challenge, really great challenge by him. And then we have a clear penalty. I don't know where the debate is online. I really don't understand it. He was clearly clipped, and that was at the 40th minute. And I'm just asking you guys, are you telling me that despite the tactical naivety, despite the tactical setup being poor, going into halftime 2-1 down is not a change in narrative? I don't know. I think it is. And did we do enough to win the game and force the issue? No. But sometimes you need these luck to happen, especially when you're missing 5 of your starting 11. And so for me, there were other chances too in the second half. I look back, Sambi, who had a great game normally, had a really poor pass to Aubameyang. He was clean through, clearly onside. There was just too much pace on the ball, and it was really a simple pass. He really should have got it on. Rob Holding, in terms of, in the box, had missed a clear header that was completely open. I don't know why he didn't get that on target. It's not like we were bereft of chances. Like, I'm seeing this XG of 0.54 versus 3, and I'm like, well, I counted 3 or 4 very clear chances that we just didn't take that absolutely were 1v1 situations. So, yeah, it's frustrating because at the same token, I would say, Chelsea responded to our threat, by the way, with Aubameyang looking very sharp by putting on Conte. That was very purposeful. That wasn't to give legs to people. That was very purposeful to control what was getting away in terms of a transition game. And so, look, I'm not saying that we should have won the game, but this idea that there was a gulf in class when I think big chances, when you look at the balance of play, despite being 19 shots on 19 shots for in Chelsea, there was only like 6 on target. And so when you look at our chances, which were much, much shorter, kind of a typical explanation of our season, we had very similar shots on target. And so, yeah, I think Pepe actually deserves, oddly, I really get onto him, but I think he deserves some special praise. I think he was excellent in the first half. He was providing an outlet and he seemed up for it, but he did fade in the second half. I think Sambi was probably our most consistent player, and Emile Smith-Rowe just did well. Like, he did what Emile Smith-Rowe does. I don't think he did anything extraordinary, but he definitely, would hold his head up high for having a good performance there. And it's just frustrating for me to see the reaction that after having so many players out, that I felt a game that, of course, we were set up for, and that goes on blame on Mikel. But this idea that we were miles apart, really, I'm really uncomfortable with saying that. I want to highlight one Chelsea player, because this is a little bit of both, and we were supposed to have a Chelsea, kind of guy come on, but I want to give maybe a little bit of the opposite view. I thought Mason Mount had an excellent game. For me, everyone's going to highlight Lukaku's come in, but he was always winning that battle with Marie. There was no way that wasn't going to happen. And Mount was the one that was making the run available for Reece James. There always was an overload on that side, but he was forcing Tierney inside, forcing him to make a decision. And, when you do go 2v1, Kieran is forced because of Mount's run, and those overloads don't happen. I think Havertz had a good game. I don't know. I saw people saying he dominated. Not for me. I think he kept the ball moving. But for me, Mason Mount, that kid scares me every time I see Chelsea play. He's always really, really great. And I think he's going to be excellent off of Lukaku. He's the one that's made those kind of channel runs work. But yeah, I just think that there was better ways of dealing with the Reece James corridor, which was always going to be the overload. I never feared Alonso overlapping on the other side. And so for me, I think we said in the preview what I would go with. So I don't know. I'll remind it for people. I would have had Tierney in a back 3, as well as Rob and, Chambers, especially if White wasn't there. But then I would have, Tavares out on the left wing, Xhaka, Lokonga, Ainsley, Maitland-Niles. And I was okay with the front 3, to be honest with you. I would have given Saka a rest because he didn't look fit to me, if I'm really being honest. So I was fine with it. I probably would have rather had Saka starting, even if he wasn't fit, but I'm not going to complain with it. So there wasn't too many lineup issues beyond those tactical tweaks that I would have done, but I always ask people, I don't think the outcome would have been terribly different. We would have been against the run of play. We would have, I think the biggest critique I heard from people last season from Mikel was, they weren't accepting the results because we were too defensive and we were just hunkered in. But then when we went to go be a little bit more progressive, that's being tactically naive from the person who made the plan to stop Tuchel. I think people forget that. Tuchel was ripping the league, and the Stamford Bridge performance by us was the blueprint for what stopped that, dominance that we saw. And so I don't think it was tactical naivety. I think he was hoping that Saka was a little bit more fit and he would have contributed a bit more back, but it wasn't the case. And I'll just end. I think I don't want to hammer him, but I think Sambi was an issue in his positioning this game. in terms of his ability to kind of be on the ball, he was excellent, always forward thinking, our best midfielder on the ball, but just off it, he got drawn into play a little bit too much. He did bite with Lukaku kind of movement, and it was to our detriment because we ended up kind of guiding all of our players in, and we helped them in their overload. So there was a little bit of naivety, but I don't know. I'm just very uncomfortable with this notion that we were so off the pace and it was men against boys, because I feel like in this game, a couple of those decisions that we absolutely forced, and people, they weren't given to us. That was good play with Saka, putting him into the penalty box. That wasn't us getting lucky with, a Luiz hit on, like at Wolves that happened last season, where it was an innocuous penalty and we're searching for it. That was good play. That was us, a good combination around the box and then making a good run. So I don't know. I accept the score. Absolutely. They were better on the day, and, they did excellently in terms of getting their wide overloads. But I don't know. I think this idea that there was a gap was a little bit overplayed for me.
Yeah. For me,
just CK, just give me a sec. I just want to address this. Sorry, mate, but this comment here, we did want KT's tucking in that left centre back, and we'd have Nuno at left wing back. I think we were all agreed on that. I don't think we had any qualms on Willow either.
No, we all thought that.
Yeah, but that just to answer this. But yeah, CK, sorry I interrupted you. Go for it, mate.
Yeah. Even on that, Saka was trying to track back, but he just wasn't fit, so he couldn't do it, which was clear to see in their goals. I think obviously Lukaku had a good performance. I think we played into Lukaku's hands a bit, especially Mario. I think he got too invested in the physical battle. So certain times he just stayed with Lukaku instead of just coming up when we press, and he was leaving a gap between him and the midfield, which caused a lot of their goals. Chelsea were good. They were good. I don't think they were particularly great, because there were times, especially in the first half, where we had chances to score, like the holding chance, the Saka penalty, Smith Rowe had a chance. So we did have chances, definitely. So on the game overall, do you think we deserve to lose 2-0?
Probably, but it would have been not the scoreline that it suggested. I mean, I think in terms of territory, and I think, on the balance of play, I don't think it was as close as a 2-1 would suggest on scoreline. But
no,
I don't think it was a clear dominating 2-0. And I really do think that a lot of these decisions that go the other way, with some, like, Chelsea defended horribly on that set piece with Rob Holding. I don't know why no one's talking about it. He was totally wide open, and that was just such a poor header from Rob. It wasn't like he was challenged. And then when you go through it, when you look at Aubameyang and how he was able to totally get space in behind, and Sambi, if we're really being honest, guys, that was really poor from Sambi. It was. It's very simple pass into space. And, I don't want to hammer him, because he was probably, in my opinion, our man of the match personally. But again, like, those are poor. And then Saka, of course, the penalty at 40 minutes. Like, guys, these are big flashpoints. This is regardless of you dominating possession and not having your starters. So for me, 2-0 was probably fair, absolutely, because I think, Chelsea did dominate the narrative of the game. But this idea that they had the best chances and it was such a clear gulf, I'm not on board with.
Just one other, but they did have quite a few good chances as well, like the Havertz one where he hit it and it went through Leno's legs, but it came back to him. The Lukaku one where Leno done a great save onto the bar. That was a he got it on target. It was a good header, but he should have done better with that header. Let's be honest. He should have been putting that much further away from Leno than what he actually did. So Chelsea also did have some very good chances. So I think a 2-0 is kind of representation of what the game was kind of like. We had a couple chances. We should have had a penalty, but then, they had quite a few good chances as well. So
I mean, Alba had 2 chances himself. Don't forget. Just like quite.
I'm just looking at the balance of play, Willow, where everyone keeps telling me that, they had 19 shots. I would argue that Chelsea had probably 7 to 8 big chances that I counted personally. And I felt that we had 5. And I think that's clearly more than the others, so we definitely deserved a win. But You know, I just don't see this idea that we were steamrolled like Brentford. I actually saw a structure. I didn't agree with it. Granted, like we all called for something different in the preview, right? So I'm not going to jump back, you know, and say, oh, you know, Mikel, good job for not doing the tactical, you know, idea that we wanted. But I did see a structure. I saw Aubameyang, who, by the way, who I was told is had a fallout with the manager, who I was told had no dedication to the team, come on and look very, very sharp. I don't know about you guys,
That's
but
true.
that was very, very sharp, and he was
You look-
pressing nonstop.
Aubameyang, but Mikel also made comments about it afterwards, saying he's trained very hard to get back into the position to be able to play in this game.
In one training session, mate.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, what he was actually doing.
I was watching the game with Chelsea fans, and as soon as Aubameyang came on, and maybe within 5 minutes of coming on,
Conte came on.
they were begging for Kante to come on because they lost something in transition, and Aubameyang just kept getting behind Azpilicueta with Martinelli going out to the left. But I do think the narrative that we were destroyed was a bit overplayed. I think Chelsea were definitely the better team and probably deserved to win, but I just didn't get the complete like anger and emotional stuff on the timeline where maybe 80-90% of people said we were gonna lose. When we lost, like had a massive cry about it.
You know what it was, CK? I kind of did this where I told people, this is what I can understand from people's frustration, where everybody felt that we would lose, but Mikel didn't set us up in the best way to win if we could.
That's where I sit with it.
And I agree, and I share your frustration. And I'm like, yes, this was a poor tactical decision, but I want us to be objective on the actual play, because the actual play didn't necessarily disturb that despite a tactical naivety. And I just want to be very clear about what the objective chances that we had. And like, I don't think Aubameyang is a half chance. I don't think Rob Holding is a half chance. These are really poor misses and poor play by us. You know, if Chelsea are in that position too, we're saying it's domination of chances. They had I would argue some of their goals, which were complete tactical naivety on our part, right? You look at the first goal, Tavares is sucked in along with Xhaka, and you've got Emile Smith-Rowe, and everybody, there's 4 players around Lukaku. Like it's poor. It is poor play. It absolutely is. But that is very much, you know, systematic for me. That's a very easy tactical switch. That's us getting sucked in. And it's poor. It is. You know, and Chelsea deserve credit for pulling us out like that. But I think it's such a rudimentary move. Like we knew that was going to happen. So for me, I struggle to gain, you know, a praise in that aspect, where I think their second goal was actually a little bit more well worked. They were a lot more progressive and quick with their transitions, and that was a really good transition, to be honest with us, because Havertz did well in the build up to that.
That was poor defending on the right hand side.
Of course, it is
to lead to their goal, and James was finding so much from the 15th minute when they scored to the 35th minute. That 20-minute spell, James had so much space on our left hand side to do whatever he wanted, and that's when they created a lot of their chances, and that's when we just lost the game. Because for me, any chance of us winning that game disappeared after we didn't equalize in the first half. If we equalized in the first half, maybe, but once our players got booed off by the fans in the first half, I just knew we'd lose.
I don't think they would have, though, Chris, if we had got the penalty. Like, this is the problem that I had. Yeah. I was watching back, and you look at the narrative of the game, like, we definitely surrendered, and our heads dropped. But I don't think people understand. Like, it was definitely, in my opinion, against the run of play, that first goal. We were absolutely...
100%, yeah.
It was.
And then it was against the run of play. The heads dropped. They got a quick second, which is poor by us, granted. We then claw ourselves back in the game. If you start getting a 2-1 game right before half, you're telling me the fans aren't up for it? And we actually started the second half quite brilliantly, too, I might add. I think the first 10 or 15 minutes was us again. We
that
won
Tierney
either
run
side
really
of the
dragged
half.
us forward.
Of course. And it's, I don't know.
It lifted the
and
crowd.
I think Martinelli was probably poor, if we're being really honest here. He was hardworking, running the channels, but really no effectiveness about getting in the game. So, you know, he was quite poor. But again,
he needed an outlet. that game. You needed an outlet. I think like when we beat Chelsea recent times as well, you've had someone like Laka play where he gets the ball and he can hold it up and bring in.
We missed Odegaard. We need somebody that with technical security that was not going to get rid of it, right? Because I think Pepe drifted in the second half. We were relying on him in the first, who had a great job about being an outlet, but I don't think that consistency held in the second half. And then you started getting this like pinball motion where we couldn't really sustain attacks. But when we did, we looked dangerous. Like we got the, Bukayo ball, Tierney was having space down that left-hand side. And, I think the crossing could have been a little bit better, but regardless, we were getting balls into the box. It wasn't like, for me, I just didn't see a mid-block where we contributed nothing. And that was the narrative I saw online. I don't know about you guys, but when I was coming in, that was the narrative I was felt with. So when I went to go watch the game again, a little bit sober, I was expecting, this is going to be Brentford again. And I didn't see that. I think Cedric was a real problem for Nicolas Pepe and us, like in build up.
I think he was probably our worst player and our worst defender. I think Holding was actually
over Murray.
I think Holding was the best defender.
Murray had a lot harder of a job though than what Cedric did. And
I think Murray's problems, were more him just
adjusting to the Lukaku game for me. I think he had a poor start, but he ended well. And actually, and like what you said, I actually think Holding was our best defender. I rag on the guy, but he was very good this game. And you know what? I always knew he would, because he's up for big games, and Chelsea, like he loves to play against them. So,
my critique with Holding though is his heading. Like not just like he should have scored that chance, but it's actually when he's heading from the defensive thing, he doesn't actually position where his headers need to go. It just hits his head and that's it, and it goes anywhere.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. I agree with this comment from the Chelsea fan. Like, we definitely contested, and yeah, we were dominated. But you know what? I expect that with 5 starting additions gone. Like, and in our team across.
Chelsea are just better than us.
And they are better than us. Even forgetting, like, quality. Let's assume quality is the same, which it isn't. And that's a complete lie. Anyone's delusional to think that we're anywhere near the squad depth or quality of Chelsea. But I just feel like if you start losing your first choice center back pairing, your first choice center midfielder, you lose your first choice striker, who, regardless of what you think of Aubameyang, he is our best goal threat. And then you also lose somebody in Odegaard who would have started the game in terms of what we needed, because Saka wasn't fit. You've got Saka that's playing that's not fit. So for me, you've got 4 for sure starters out and 1 Ailing. So it's just, I don't know. I'm very uncomfortable with the narrative, particularly looking back. But credit to Chelsea. They're going to be very strong. I do want to praise them because I think they deserve it. The one thing that you have to understand is I think Tuchel's system is quite good. It's just I do worry if he has a plan B personally. But they are very good at what they do. So if plan A is working, why change it? I get that mentality. It's just in the crunch times are they able to carry it. And I think they have just enough quality to overpower teams, to be honest with you. And I still don't feel that they created the best quality chances, but the number and the frequency of chances were just so big. And when you're bringing on Timo Werner for a little bit of a run out at the end, like, it just shows kind of the squad quality. So yeah, but for me, Mason Mount was their best player. And I constantly say Mason Mount, if there's one player from Chelsea I would take, it is Mason Mount in a heartbeat. I think that guy is the heart of their team.
He's the first one you'd bring to Arsenal. To
Arsenal, 100%. Absolutely. Mason Mount is somebody I rate very, very highly. I don't know why he gets the amount of abuse that he does from Chelsea fans personally. I mean,
because he was Lampard's boy. It's because he was Lampard's boy.
Potentially, but I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that we're repeating, because we were positive, but I just want people to know I am critical of Mikel because he was tactically naive, and we did it. Like, we had literally a blueprint for Stamford Bridge last season in terms of approaching it with 3-4-3. It's just I don't understand the mentality to not go there. But look, credit Chelsea. I think they're going to do excellently this season. I really do. I don't think they get enough credit for what they're doing, at least, even though that they've got a lot of squad. It takes a talented manager to get those profiles to tune. We've seen that with other managers who struggle. So, yeah, and again, I'm a big fan of Mason Mount. I don't know about you guys, but
we all are big fans. I think with Mason Mount, I think yesterday he probably was their better player, and I think they'd say Havertz because Havertz just probably had the ball a bit more, especially coming to sometimes dropping deep to help them in build-up. So Havertz was maybe seen more, and Lukaku and James' partnership obviously is what got them the goals. But
I don't think Lukaku is effective in any sense without Mason Mount. Kai Havertz may help in the build-up.
Because he created this. He
created the overloads in that entire channel.
What Werner does, and they praise Werner for all these off-the-ball runs that create space for others, and then just recycling the ball. It's what they praise Werner for nowadays, but they just don't see it with Mount because he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have the blistering pace of a Werner.
But Chris, he's also got on-the-ball quality. I love him. I love him. Maybe it's biased a little bit, but Foden and him are my two kind of youngsters in the league that I have a soft spot for. I really think that they're good. You know, I think Callum Hudson-Odoi, again, that would have been a game for him, you know, with us here. I would have been afraid. I don't know why he hasn't started. I don't know what the situation with
it just shows their quality, though. That's the thing, the quality and depth. Like they brought in Ziyech, Werner.
For me, they don't have a better winger than Hudson-Odoi, but he plays in their backup team that plays friendly games and beats random teams 13-0. So they've got like 40 players or something around the first team, and they can only register 25. So all the others just play against some random teams.
And an undeserved hero, by the way, just for Chelsea, because I do want to give them their well-due plaudits here, is actually Kovacic. I think he had an immense game, very quietly behind the background. His ability to progress the ball was, I think, absolutely key to getting those transitions. So, you know, Jorginho starts the moves, but, you know, Kovacic gets out of the overload and the build-up first all the time and then switches the play. Like, he is the one that, you know, Jorginho's the mind, but he's the one to wriggle it out and give it to him. And that's just so key to them. It's key to them really backing up Rudiger, who I think is okay on the ball, but not exceptional. I think having somebody like Kovacic in the first phase is kind of a cheat code for allowing your lack of athleticism in the midfield if Conte isn't there. And so I just think he deserves special praise because for me, it was Mount and Kovacic that had really the great games. And, you know, look, Conte came on and he played like excellently as well. Yeah.
I just want to, there's a couple of things. So firstly, the one thing that really frustrated me was how fluid Chelsea were and we were allowing Chelsea to be in build up as well. The passing combinations around the box that they were doing, it was one touch football at times. It was really, really good. But like it felt like we were just sort of either we're sitting back too much or we're lunging into challenges. It just felt we didn't have that balance in terms of pressing the man who is in front of us. And like, I don't like saying it, but again, with Xhaka, sometimes he would literally he'd just constantly get sort of caught out again and again. Just either man goes past him or he doesn't read the situation as well. He's not covering enough space. And the other thing no one's mentioned yet is the amount of times we got kicked and that no one called. Forget the penalty, just in general play. If one of their man went down, it's a yellow. If one of our man just went bloody scrolling all over the place, it's not even a foul. So yeah, I'll agree with this. Their second goal was very good.
No, it was their best one. Their first one was poor by us, like so poor, but their second was very
fluid. They played around us throughout the whole pitch.
Kovacic again for me. Remember, released Havertz down. Beautiful build up for him again. He got out of trouble, but Kovacic was the one to get out of the numerical advantage again.
Yeah,
I think
like
Chelsea. I think not a negative on them because they weren't. I think their right hand side was poor defensively.
Yeah,
especially with James. Like James was first half, it was James poor defensively, and second half, I think Aspi was the one that was poor defensively. And I don't think we capitalized enough on how poor they were defensively, which just shows the gulping quality between us right now, to be honest.
Yeah,
because they capitalized on us leaving space down the left hand side, and they were always going to, because generally they either create down with Werner making these runs down the left and something happens centrally, or down the right. So they were always going to do something down the right, and I think playing Saka there just without him being fit really killed us, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is like one of the main things that I found so frustrating is this whole summer has been, we're going to improve the floor of our team. This is the whole thing. We're not going to be exposed when players go out. But you look at that back line, even though it is Chelsea, and obviously if you have your second team playing, you shouldn't expect to be ragdolled. But it was just sort of like the whole philosophy behind this summer was to raise the floor of the team, and it just felt like that we were just seeing such amateurish mistakes from players that we thought might be able to start moving us into the next phase of this project.
The ones that we brought in to replace them, Tavares and Lokonga, have already played a lot of minutes because of the injuries that we knew he would have. We didn't expect Lokonga to be starting the first 2 games already.
No.
Now he has, which shows them 2 signings were smart, to be honest.
I wouldn't say like there was like too many. A lot of the time you see Arsenal in these kind of big games, there's a lot of player mistakes defensively. Like at least we didn't see that. I thought it was much more tactical mistakes on just letting them overload. Like we've all identified, we all said before this, you know, in different videos and talking to each other, that is what they're going to do. They're going to overload that right hand side, and for that not to be dealt with and not to be seen, that is a big critique from me, because you're like, if you know, forged normal people can see this, then you know, you would hope that you'd be able to see it too. My other thing, which Curran kind of talked on earlier, was the way Granit Xhaka a lot of the time does play. Like, he does run up the pitch a lot to try and help with the press, or at least try and just give a presence there. But I don't like that kind of role he gets given, because when he does that and he gets up the pitch, his recovery runs, you know, he's so slow. He's shocking at getting back. And again, it leaves us exposed because we've got a centre mid out there and he's huffing and puffing to get back. Like, he's not going to help defensively.
You know what it is, guys? It is us. It's a combination of, sustaining attacking patterns. We do this, right? So what is the formula? Transition control and final third security. With Bukayo not fit, who was our connector in the final third? No one, because, you know, Pepe did really well in the first half, I felt. I'm going to give him his plaudits, but he was inconsistent with it in the final ball. So he was a lot of times left isolated. I think much more to do with Cedric than his play in the first half. But in the second half, he started to be loose with it. So I didn't think we had final third control. So no final third technical security. That's not in the formula. Transition control. Do you guys feel that we had transition control with Pablo Mari, Sambi and Xhaka? No. So you could not sustain any attacking patterns. That was just really the crux of it. So you have no central thrust, and this team is literally gutted. And I think it goes down to what we were saying earlier, really in the stream, and it's going to become a kind of a theme of this game for me, where we were always likely to lose, emphasized particularly with our decimated injury list. But Mikel didn't help himself to give the team the best possible of winning, however unlikely that was, and however likely the outcome would be, if I could summarize. So it really is tough, and I just don't feel that social media has done a good enough job of highlighting that Gabriel, White, Partey, Odegaard, and Aubameyang, who are all starters, the entire spine of the team is missing. And you know, look, we bought Odegaard now, so people can't say he's not a starting option. It's not my choice, but he's clearly a starting option. So if he's part of the tactical play, okay, he's going to be in the center or on right wing. That's entire spine of your team is gone. And I just wonder, I do a similar comparison when I look at Southampton and Man United, 1-1, right? And they lost their major goal threat and their major center back, but they only lost 2 major pillars. They didn't lose both center backs that were the best. They didn't lose James Prowse in midfield. Now, what they did lose made for maybe a competitive game, but they haven't lost the degree of starting talent that we did. And I just use that as an example to show that despite playing without your key players, that when you lose more than 3 or 4 in the starting lineup, it hinders your ability to compete. Forget the fact that it's the champions of Europe. Forget the fact that the squad quality is absolutely miles apart. Forget those facts. So, and of course, I think playing with a back 5, it makes it a closer game, but does it make it a fairer game? Like, I don't think Stamford Bridge, we had as many chances as we did this game.
No, we didn't.
But we won on margin. And so what is it? Is that sustainable for people? Because I felt that the biggest criticism of Mikel Arteta was, I want you to commit to a system, Mikel. I want you to have more attacking football, Mikel.
Now that he's done it,
now that he's done it, people don't like it. So it's like, I want people to be consistent. And look, I think people would argue, but George, was this the game to do it? Maybe not, but I'd rather you die by your sword if that's going to be your philosophy. And the only issue I have is I better see this bravery in the rest of the season, right? Like, it makes no sense to me to be like this, and then you don't carry the same impetus with the smaller teams. Because I assure you, bring some players back and you have this mentality, I think the competition becomes a lot more clearer in terms of what we can achieve with people outside the top 6. It's no issue to be realistic about where we are right now. Yeah.
So do we see us going forward at the back against Man City? Do we think we'll keep the same system? Yep.
Well, if he's going forward at the back against the best 3 at the back in Europe, then he has to go forward at the back against another 4 at the back in City. I think yesterday what you guys were talking about with Xhaka, I think Mari made it worse.
Yeah.
Because Mari didn't come up when he pressed, so the gap between Xhaka and Mari was too big. So whenever they got the ball from us, they just one pass to Lukaku, and they were just 3-on-3 against the back line. And if Mari doesn't do what Gabriel or Holding, Gabriel and White would do, then it just doesn't work when we have our backups.
Yeah. I don't know. I maybe we can do final thoughts to it. It's just I think at this point I'm just seeing a mix of critique. This is my biggest frustration. I'm seeing ignoring of context, and I think we can do better. Just where we can at the same token criticize Mikel where he's rightly due, because he is to be. I don't want it to get across in the stream that he didn't do anything wrong.
Because these 2 losses are his fault.
Yeah, and I think it's just you have to absolutely criticize the move, and also you know what I would criticize even more, if you wanted 4-2-3-1, why is Saka not a 10? Cool, you want to go and you want to die by your sword, but the kid's not fit. Why didn't you put him in the 10, and why didn't you have Emil be the one that was going to do the hard graft on the wing? Because we didn't progress through the center, right? So if you were going to have an option on the wing that you wanted to progress with aggressive running, which Emil does offer, by the way, you need somebody that defensively will come back and hit so that we're not left 2v1 down Reece James's side. So, like, there is criticism. There absolutely is. It's just, again, I hope we can be objective about looking on the balance of play at the big chances, because there were big chances and they weren't just chances. They weren't half chances. We missed some clear open goals and open opportunities to really cut them open. And yeah, that comes down to a quality issue, but then we circle back to the same issue. And if you told me, did this look like a team bereft of 5 starters? Would anybody say no?
The one thing I want to mention is, which was just touched on about the central progression. I mean, we got outboxed in midfield multiple times. We got in that central area of the pitch. Every time we tried to progress the ball, we'd get caught. Every time. We were lacking that ability to go to have a progressive runner through the middle. Who is which player we're missing? Thomas Partey. I mean, if you put Thomas Partey in that midfield, and you give him, say, you give him the ball and you allowed him to go dribble and move the ball and progress the ball from one side to the other. It's like that meme on Twitter: defend one third of the first third of the pitch, goals and assists last third of the pitch, midfield. Who knows what happens here? Like, you have to have the ability to move the ball from the first to the final third, and we really missed that because it just felt like we were stuck in possession. We were static, and we didn't seem to have that sort of progressive movement forward. We were just sort of trying to get the ball out of feet. We weren't trying to take on a man. We weren't trying to progress to get into that zone 14 area or around the box. We were just sort of happy around the center circle, trying to just pop off balls and then try and get the ball forward to it through a wing or something, and then move a cut back, or then do things like this. And it shows. I mean, some of our best opportunities, like that ESR chance, which I think is a pretty clear chance, because without Aspie blocking it, I think it's definitely an on target shot. So, like,
it's an unbelievable block. It was
unbelievable. Yeah. But the point is we're trying to build through wide overloads at a point where we're not having the same central compactness. So we've sacrificed our central progression to try and build through wide. And where are Chelsea strongest? When they're defending wide overloads, because they have both. They have 3 at the back, and they have 2 center backs on either side of a central centre back. So they have that advantage to nullify your overload. So it just felt like if we just stretched them out a bit further and then tried to move in centrally, we could have done something this game, but we didn't have the quality to centrally attack. And that was the main issue this game in terms of how static we were going forward. In terms of going back, it was just a case of, look, Romelu Lukaku is a hell of a man. He is a big boy. You're gonna get, if you put Mari on him, he's gonna get spun a lot. It's simple.
Mari's fault. That was Mari's. Even though Lukaku was good yesterday, Mari I still think that he got too invested in trying to beat Lukaku physically.
Chris, it's because he's insecure. Like, you look at his form in the past 2 games, he's not secure in 1v1 duels. So in his mind, get there quicker in order to stop the danger, which plays into his hands absolutely. Like, and I'm not defending it. It's just the reality of where his form is at this point. And it's also kind of why ironically, I wanted Holding to be matched up with Lukaku personally, because I know he likes a physical battle, and I think you can question sometimes his on the ball quality, but realistically, I wanted him up against our best version. If it couldn't be Gabriel, who was our next best physical defender? Forget, tactics for a moment. Who's the best physical matchup for him? And it's just, I feel like people are very disingenuous. I mean, look, this is Lukaku too. We're not talking about a scrub. We're not talking about Danny Ings. Like, we're talking about arguably the best 9 on the planet here, like on form, he's arguably, not a scrub, but like, I don't know. It's just like, we're talking about one of the best 9s on form in the planet right now. And if you're telling me he's not doing that even to Ruben Diaz, I think you're wrong. Like, he's not doing that.
He did it to him in the Euros.
I use that example on purpose, guys. But like, it's just ridiculous.
Dissing Brexit Benzema. I don't know how. I don't know.
But with Lukaku, I would have been more confident if Gabriel was there 100%, because I think Gabriel deals with him. He's one of the only centre backs in the world physically that could probably match him. I think Lukaku was good. Again, he was very good.
But we played into his hands.
We saw again, though. Like, I don't think his pick and roll was as great. I think Mari struggled a bit, but then towards the second half, what we did see though was his out to in run, and I was trying. I don't know. Chelsea fans kept telling me I was deluded, but every time Lukaku would drift out to the right wing and then cut in the center and want to receive. And that out to in run was on for us every time. Like, they took advantage of that numerical advantage. And I don't know if I was a Chelsea fan, I would look towards that. If I was like your coach, and like, you use that with Reece James, that's a very dangerous weapon. Have Mount floating in behind, making those darting runs. If you could have, a Timo Werner or, someone making those consistent runs, I really do think, it would be very good. But I don't know. It's just right now, I am aware of where we're at. I don't think fundamentally the game, while we may have played into their hands and it was tactically naive, which it was, I don't see the gulf in objective quality of play that was depicted online. We definitely had our chances and we contested. And this idea that we sat back and were totally dominated men against boys was not something I completely agreed with, particularly on the balance of chances. Did they deserve to win? They did. Let's not have it wrong.
You know what I find with Arsenal fans is, though, a lot of it is down to the kind of chances that we've kind of seen in the past and what we have now. So what a typical Arsenal fan will be is, the way we've all been brought up with is under Arsene Wenger. So you'll be seeing this tiki-taka passing, which is kind of through the middle, where we'll pass it, and we'll basically walk it into the net. And that's what they think is like, that's how football is, that's how the chances is. So the chances we kind of get where we're kind of crossing it in and the way we're kind of working it now is different. And them chances, they don't like them chances as much as what the other chances were, because the other chances was a lot prettier than what these ones do.
But so my final thoughts are that we definitely deserve to lose, but I think a lot of our fans are being short-sighted, and I think it's hard to not be right now, to not be short-sighted and to be like rational. I get it, but like, I think we have so much to come into this team that I think something will definitely change. And if it doesn't, Arteta will be gone. But if it does, we'll probably be happy and Arteta will stay. So I think with all the injuries right now, we should not lose to Brentford, but I can see why we lost to Chelsea. And quickly, Joshua, I think Gabriel definitely matches Lukaku, and I think the best physical striker in the league is probably Antonio, and Gabriel dealt with him, so he can definitely deal with Lukaku. That's my final.
My final thoughts is quite clear. That we're all we are Arsenal fans, right? All four of us, and obviously the channel is a football channel first and foremost. It's not an Arsenal channel, but as Arsenal fans, you have to realise is that the only reason we are invested in Mikel is because we think he's the best for Arsenal. If he proves that he's not the best for Arsenal, then your opinion changes. But it's the club first. I don't care about players. I don't care. I'll tell you one thing. I've never got a player on the back of my shirt. Never. I don't get numbers. I don't get players because I'm very clear. The only thing that matters is the badge. It's not whatever the individuals are. The individuals you fall in love with or you fall out of love with, that's fine. But the badge and the club is what comes first. And this game is obviously something where you can see there are glaring issues in the squad. You can see there are glaring issues that we need to be addressing, but also that there are things that to be positive about because of the lack of the first 11 available and the fact that let's be real, we gave them a fight. We didn't just sit back. We didn't do a 6-0. We didn't do an 8-2. There was fight there. It just we were the second best team on the pitch. So Arsenal first. Arteta, if he needs to improve, let's be real, because there's 2 games in a row where he's tactically been inept. That's 2 games in a row now because there are clear systems, there are clear systemic weaknesses that we could have addressed in both those games. But on the other hand, when you have that many players missing at once, it's not good enough, and we need improvement. But I'm still gonna back the man and back the club first and foremost until otherwise. That's what I have to say.
To be honest, I think we've wrapped up most things. We've covered everything really. So it's just about moving on to the next game. Really, we've got City next. It's going to be a hard game, but I think after international break, once everyone's back, hopefully from their COVID and the injuries, we're going to have Partey back. We're going to have White, Gabriel. I think you'll be seeing a lot different Arsenal where you'll see us actually transitioning a lot better and playing a lot better football. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And also, there's still 9 days of the transfer market as well. 1 to 2 more signings has easily come in and plenty of people can be gone. So let's look forward to that.
Yeah, it's crazy, mate. I don't know. I'll just really quickly racked up. After the international break, we could be looking at 6 additions to the starting 11. Not depth that everyone keeps complaining that we've recruited, but starting 11 additions that we aren't seeing. Yeah. And so I agree with everybody here. I think Mikel deserves the critique because, again, he has not set us up in the best way to win, despite the outcome being unlikely. That's your job as a manager, and so you have failed in that regard. But I think, as I've said previously, I give him 10 games. I look over that spread of 10 games to see what we've got, and of those, I need to see 5 where I see the starting 11. I feel our season starts against Norwich, and I do think that, having more than 4 additions to your starting 11 absolutely is context that needs to be talked about. And these projections about where we are and our level are not accurate context without our starting 11, particularly more than 4 people. So that's the last thing I will say.
Sorry, I just want to come in on that just quickly, just to make one more example. Is like Liverpool were allowed to lose 5 games in a row at home at Anfield, their fortress, because they were missing their starting centre backs and a couple, and a DM and maybe one other player. So they were missing 4 to 5 players, and they were allowed to lose 5 games in a row, and everyone cleared that and thought, oh yeah, that's the reasons why. Why are Arsenal not allowed to do that against the reigning European champions? May I add?
Because of this fan base and the media, but yeah, Arteta does need to improve, but our injuries have had a big impact on who you're seeing playing, because I don't think we see Mari holding against Chelsea if Gabriel and White are fit, but it is what it is, and we'll be back soon to react to the West Brom game. It's on Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, yes. Wednesday. Yep. Ramsdale watch. Hopefully we get to see him.
Yeah, hopefully we see Ramsdale, Balogun.
just a couple of organizational things before we go. We will have a Ramsdale video coming out soon on the profile of the player. We'll do a reaction to the West Brom game. There's no podcast this week because of the load of videos we've had to do, but we will get one out for you this weekend coming up. Again, we're on 520 subs. Let's try and get that up a bit if we can, maybe to 550 as soon as we can. If people would be cool, but I hope everyone's having a good day, and hopefully we'll have more signings to talk about, or some good news to talk about soon.
I want less baritones, Curran. I need some more like high voice notes. You know, I think everyone's looking. We're looking as a fan base. We're looking as a fan base for a spark. I really do think, by the way, and I'm not just being positive for the sake of nothing. I think Torreira is significant for the outlook of what you think we could do. I think him moving is absolutely massive. And him leaving is absolutely massive to what you would think. By the way, with him and Kolasinac, I'm just letting all the fans know that's one homegrown foreign playing spot that is open. Because of Ramsdale, we now are allowed to sign somebody that is a foreign player. So it opens things for us. You add a couple more that begin to leave, you don't know what could happen. Again, there's a fluid situation. I think we'll also probably be doing a bot space even after the Man City review.
Yeah, a call-in show for all of you guys if you want to come in. Any fan to talk about your window, your start to the season, anything like that.
Exactly, yeah. And so we'll do all these reminders kind of on the weekend too as well. But yeah, unfortunately, sorry guys for the Ramsdale. I'm gonna claim a little bit of sickness. Your guy went a little bit hard on the weekend for his
we tried
26.
We tried to do it, and everyone was just sort of off. It just didn't. It just didn't.
If the Ramsdale video would have been out if everyone was feeling better, especially like George was out of it on Saturday. So, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Pure CKK. Curran BOP is not there.
George, I'm off Twitter, people.
George B_AFC, the one Willow, and Prep Arsenal _Z, and BOP40 on Twitter. And follow Ball of a Passion on TikTok. Turn on post notifications, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.